Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Farhatul Musamira binti Muhammad Aziz, and I'm going to present my paper on democratization through social media, Arab Spring 2.0 in Tunisia and Jordan. For the introduction, how the Arab Spring 1.0 is different or similar from the Arab Spring 2.0. For Arab Spring 1.0, the first one, it started in 2010 until 2012. Number two, a wave of anti-authoritarian uprisings across the MENA region. MENA region here means the Middle East and North Africa region, thus the abbreviation MENA, that started in Tunisia to Egypt, Yemen, Libya, Syria, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Bahrain, and Sudan. And number three, having political and economic factors. Number four, ignited through the explosion of social media. And how about Arab Spring 2.0? Started in 2018 until 2022. Number two, series of anti-government and economic protests in MENA countries. It involved the same countries all over again. And number three, having political and economic factors. And number four, ignited through the explosion of social media. Thus, the focus of this presentation and also the overall research is on the use of social media by the people to express their demands with regards to the change of government and demanding democracy to be applied in order to counter the problems of corruption and massive unemployment of the youth generation. Why Tunisia? If we refer back to the previous slides, Tunisia is the first country that started the wave of Arab Spring 1.0. So what happened during this time around? Tunisia, in 2018, a series of peaceful protests due to stifling economic factor after the so-called democratic government announced the elevation of prices on goods as well as value-added tax on social contributions during the Tunisian 2018 budget announcement. Later become so intense and violent due to harsh interference of police officers because people started to protest. Lack of major improvements in Tunisia started from 2011 until 2018. And it is fueled by active online expressions. And when we talk about online expression, you name it, Facebook, so Twitter, we have TikTok, we have news and media, right, reporting on this scene. So why Jordan? King of Jordan quick to act and prepared a reform program to avoid violent protests in 2011. He reformed the constitution and vowing to embark on a democratic trajectory, which managed to somewhat control, the wave of Arab Spring 1.0 in Jordan. However, its economy had taken a hit from the surrounding turmoil and from an influx of large number of Syrian refugees into the country. The government had to raise fuel and electricity prices. And to add to these points, corruption in the government is also they did not manage to eliminate corruption in the government. Thus, going back to our table in the first slide with regards to the factor, having economic and political factor, political in the sense of corruption that leads to underdevelopment of their economy in the country. Yeah, and it also fueled by active online expression. Problem statement, the matters of social revolution among the state citizens are not something that can be simply disregarded from the responsibilities of the government in maintaining the sentiment of harmony, peace, and long-term stability within the state. Having an autocratic leader in the country actually did not cater to all of these needs by the citizen in order to have some sort of perspective where government should work for the people, not the other way around. So the deliverance of message throughout social media posts by the public can be misleading due to the mixture of provocative sentiment. So this is another problem. With regards to the expression of social media, people are actually free to interpret or misinterpret whatever the expression that they read in the media. Thus, the consequences varies in the context that the first one would be forcing the government. It might, forcing the government to ban into the public's request by fulfilling the demand, like what happened in Tunisia and Jordan, the first Arab Spring. And second is it would act the government, which soon lead to more than provocation. And other countries, unlike Tunisia and Jordan, are very unlucky in the sense that what happened in Syria and Libya, to name a few, right? the government did not actually cater the need of the people. They keep on suppressing the people. And what happened is civil wars, and these leaders has long been toppled since then, right? Both in Libya and also but not the case in Syria. What happened in Syria is more unfortunate in the sense that it had actually intensified into a civil war. So that's another kind of consequences with regards to this social expression in social media. Yeah. So the objective of this research is to study the effectiveness of social media influence during the Arab Spring 2.0 in Tunisia and Jordan. And number two is to identify the driving factors that led to the outbreak of the Arab Awakening 2.0, which is the same thing with Arab Spring 2.0. So the conceptual framework here is the flow of research. Yeah, the focus is on Arab Spring 2.0, focusing on social media exposure and also the application of the butterfly effect, because the butterfly effect in the Arab Spring 1.0 is so intensified because when we look back to the so-called what is Arab Spring 1.0, it's a wave of anti-authoritarian protests. Thus, we can imply the significance of this butterfly effect with regards to chaos theory. Yeah, there's chaos everywhere because of this wave of social explosion. And social explosion refers to because of the broken promises by the government, restriction on social media, and bear in mind it is focusing on Arab Spring 2.0, yeah, and the influence of public awakening throughout social media. Can we actually now still apply butterfly effect on Arab Spring 2.0 as in the Arab Spring 1.0, right? And the method here is materials. We use both primary and secondary data, methods and in-depth interview, and also literature analysis. Finding first, how effective is the influence of social media during Arab Spring 2.0 in Tunisia and Jordan? It was very unfortunate because with regards to the effectiveness of social media types, the impact and the purpose, is that in this situation of Arab Spring 2.0, the problem is the government took a very drastic change with regards to restricting more suppression of freedom of social media for the people. Yeah. So the problem is rather than taking notes, rather than taking some lesson of Arab Spring 1.0, what happened is that the government of these two countries actually enact a bill of anti-fake news, which actually further suppress the freedom of social media for the people. And on top of that, the power of media in Tunisia and Jordan during the Arab Spring 2.0 has grown weaker because of restriction factor, which can be looked into two dimensions, namely restriction of social media access to the public based on accessible of telecommunication device, and the restriction of freedom of expression, which mainly done via social media platform despite of the obsolete regulations and freedom of expression to social media. So the flame of influence does not reach into the external borders of the state as the event once happened before, referring to Arab Spring 1.0. So in other words, the media influence in Jordan and Tunisia grow weaker this time around because the rates of demand for mobile phones remain stagnant because of the strict enactment of laws with regards to the use of social media. So what about potential connection of butterfly effect? As for the butterfly effect, it is unlikely to occur since the government has taken initiatives to quickly act on it and put the inner strike to stop before the scenario worsen. So we cannot actually imply the butterfly effect on Arab Spring 2.0. The chaos theory is somewhat not chaotic in this context. Yeah. So what are the driving factors that led to the outbreak of the Arab Awakening 2.0? Due to an in-depth interview, we found out that the interviewees actually somehow hinted on the fact that these indicators, all of these indicators may also be influenced by the government and authorities of the state itself, specifically in terms of response and action being taken on the issues aroused within society such as poverty, unemployment, increasing taxes, wages and salaries, and so the list goes on, the demand of the people. Yeah. So unemployment continues, poverty and economic factor hasn't somehow very weakly addressed in the context of the government itself. And the relationship between poverty and unemployment are undeniably interconnected, regardless of any level of state. Once maybe because the issues of poverty are mainly rooted from the scenario of incapability of or at disadvantage in search of any job within a long period. So it very much refers to how poor the government has been responding to the demand of the people this time around, right? Tunisia too actually experienced elevation of taxes, just like Jordan. So these are the driving factors that led to the outbreak of the Arab Awakening 2.0, unemployment, poverty, and economic factor, and due to poor government response. For the conclusion, Arab Spring 2.0 in Tunisia and Jordan has reached an impasse because of how government responds. They restricting the law even more, right? Trying to suppress the people. The fact that the government has failed to properly resolve the internal issues while ignoring public welfare and deliverance to the citizens was part of the main reason the new Arab Spring emerged. Social media has always been a tool to bridge the communication between the public and the government in matters of reaching to the democratization. How about butterfly effect? So what is butterfly effect? A butterfly could flap its wings and set molecules of air in motion, which would move other molecules of air, in turn moving more molecules of air, eventually capable of starting a hurricane on the other side of the planet. So the main idea was to show how a very small action can generate dramatic and complex consequences, just like the Arab Spring 1.0. However, the effect is less significant in Arab Spring 2.0 because of the strict laws on the freedom of social media. Thank you for listening. Assalamualaikum.